Now to the NFL.
To the NFL. So
a good divisional round. There were some amazing games. There were some less so good games, but I really enjoyed this round. Well, what did you think?
I'll kick off if that's all right. I wrote some notes this time, ladies and gentlemen. I gave up sort of halfway through, but I did make some notes. So yes, the NFL Divisional round, a little bit underwhelming. I have to say, I was really excited for some of these games, and they didn't quite deliver as I'd have hoped.
I'm looking at you, Bills Ravens.
Yeah, I'm looking at you, Bills Ravens. We'll get to you in a minute, but we'll kick off with the Rams and Packers.
Yeah.
Now, the Rams were my upset of the week. I thought maybe they could swing it. And initially, it looked good. Goff, some notes I've made here, Goff came out throwing the ball well, which was a concern in the previous week because of that thumb surgery he'd had. But no, he was able to throw the ball. He was making completions. He was actually looking solid. However, they got the run game going a bit, but not really. And then Goff started to just dry up and he wasn't able to make the throws. And then the defense just wasn't able to contain Aaron Rodgers. Forget about the pass game for a minute. The Rams couldn't stop the Green Bay run game. The Green Bay run game was tearing up the Rams, just destroying them. And Aaron Rodgers is going to kill you through the air, so you have to stop the run at a bare minimum to stand a chance. And they couldn't do either in the end. It just turned into a massacre because, and this was the number one ranked defense, but you're going against the Packers, and they just steamrolled them. And what was really interesting is the Green Bay offensive line just shut down the Rams defensive line, just shut them down.
No, definitely. And I think Aaron Donald was only in on 54% of the snaps, defensive snaps for the Rams, instead of like 85, because he was nursing, I think.
He was injured, yeah.
And you could tell that without him, they just couldn't get the pressure on Aaron Rodgers, who's great at escaping the pocket at the best of times. But with Aaron Donald at 50%, that he was comfortable because they couldn't get the pressure with the other players. And those other players there. Then I think there was a big moment at the end of the first half, just before the halftime, where Aaron Rodgers, trying to get into the end zone twice, two passes kind of were there for the interception, and the Rams players kind of dropped them both times, I think, because he was like shooting into the end zone right before the half. And they settled for a field goal there, making it 19-10 at the half, I think. But if either of those picks would have happened, they could have it would have only been a 6-point lead at the half, and they could have. I think they even had enough time on the clock to maybe go on a quick drive. And I think had it been less than a one touchdown game at halftime, they would have come back, kind of shooting more than that. But then 19-10, and then I think Green Bay was first to score. And the game's gone. So I think it was lost at the end of the second quarter.
On to the Bills versus Ravens. This was my disappointing game of the week. I had a lot of hope. I was really excited about this game, and I thought it was going to be a offensive explosion. It ended up being the complete opposite. It was nothing of the sort, and just some crazy stats I had to drop down. The Bills basically didn't run the ball in the first half. There was a point where in the second quarter, the play selection was 18-1. They threw the ball 18 times and hadn't rushed even more than once. So they'd completely abandoned. And then on the flip side, the Ravens in the second quarter had thrown 4 passes. So they'd done the exact opposite. They were like the opposite of each other. The Bills were throwing and not really getting anywhere. And the Ravens were rushing and not really getting anywhere. And initially, the Ravens, with their running backs, they started to get some momentum. And Dobbins and some of the running backs were making some ground. I thought, oh, here we go. And then the Bills just shut that down. They just shut that down, and Lamar Jackson couldn't hang. When the run game shut down, he couldn't hang. And the Bills didn't do great. They didn't do great against that Ravens defense, but they did enough to score 17 points. And when you hold the opposition to 3, that's all you need.
And the quality of a franchise quarterback in this league is when the run does get shut down, and the ball's in your hand and it's on you to win the game. Can you rise to that challenge? And I think Jackson didn't rise to that challenge, and they never. There wasn't a touchdown until the third quarter, I think. And once
just brutal.
Yeah, it was a slow burner to say the least. And once the Bills scored, it was kind of inevitable at that point. Stephon Diggs had 100 and some yard game, but yeah, I think it just goes to show that Jackson, man, this is he's been so hyped up. He was the MVP, not long ago, and all these things, and he just can't seem to win the big game, and it just makes you think that will he turn into a kind of great regular season quarterback with their exciting power run game and all these things? And he doesn't, early on in his career, he hasn't turned up in the big games in the playoffs. It was a bit of a disappointing game, and well done to the Bills. But geez, man, I thought it was going to be higher scoring than this.
Browns versus the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. So this game was a heartbreaker for me because I've been as a Vikings fan. We didn't see the playoffs this year. We shouldn't have seen the playoffs this year because we were awful on toast. So I was supporting the Browns as sort of my team through the playoffs. And great win last week against the Steelers. And this week there was victory in sight. It was attainable, and then suddenly it wasn't, and it's so disappointing. And to have lost by 5 against the Chiefs, well done. It's been a great season for the Browns, but they couldn't do enough. And I think the major talking point of this match was the fumble in the end zone, which Rashard Higgins sort of catches the ball. This is the Browns wide receiver. He runs for the end zone, and as he's reaching out, he gets nailed in the head via safety, which should have been a penalty, which wasn't called. But he then fumbles the ball before making contact with the pylon. And when the ball goes out of bounds in the opposition end zone, the defense gets the ball. So then obviously the Chiefs got the ball. And that was that at that point. That was it, And
that ended up being the difference.
And fair play to Chad Henne, who came in relief of Patrick Mahomes, who got, it's crazy, second starting quarterback to get knocked out of the game this weekend. And he came in and he threw an awful interception, which sort of set up, you thought, oh, it's on, the Browns could win this. And then there was he made a really gutsy play on 4th down to ice the game, and I love it when a guy comes in and performs. Yeah. I love to see that. So I can't be mad at Chad Henne.
And Stefanski, our old offensive coordinator, head coach of the Browns. Love to see an ex-Viking do well, especially when they're in a different conference. The Lions, Packers. But I was listening to Bill Burr's podcast, and he mentions this game, and he said something that just completely stuck with me. It was the Chiefs on their opening possession, I believe. They just drove down the field and scored. Or if that wasn't their first possession, it was really easy, bang, 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 scored. And the Browns panicked and then immediately started focusing on the pass game, making Baker Mayfield win the game. And he pointed out, and I totally agree with it. Dude, you got the best duo of running backs, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, in the league. Lean on that run early, and once they that, remember that huge drive, I think in the third quarter, was really kind of run heavy, even run and pass. And I just think in the first half, I totally agree with Bill Burr on this one, but he pointed out I didn't fully kind of appreciate it. They should have run the ball more in the first half, eat up the clock, and
keep the Chiefs off the field, man. Keep the Chiefs off the field,
half, which is what got them back into the game in the second half. They should have just kept to their game plan and not been kind of flustered by that early touchdown. And they should have won this game. I'm so upset.
So the last game of the weekend was Buccaneers versus Saints, which I called correctly. I actually got something right. I thought the Buccaneers might win this, and they did. And the score makes it seem closer than it was, because it really wasn't close.
No,
it wasn't close. Breeze was awful, and Breeze, it's now been announced, I think Breeze maybe is officially retired.
He retired. In fact, there's a video snippet of at the end of the game where it looked like he was almost crying and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's Breeze telling Jameis Winston, like, this is your team now, kind of past the reins. And I think it's official now that he has what a great career he's had. But
fair.
This score flattered the Saints. I did not expect Drew Brees. 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
Past a certain point in the game, they were never really in it. The Buccaneers managed to shut down Michael Thomas as well to a much greater extent than I thought. But of course, Michael Thomas hasn't really been in the lineup because he's been injured most of the season. He's only had like 2 games or something. Yeah. But yeah, sorry, I interrupted you. You got any other thoughts on that?
No. I mean, no, that's the thing. You know, what a shame. I mean, I don't really like the Saints. I don't really like Breeze, but you can't argue with his career. He's been one of the best quarterbacks in history. You know, and he won a Super Bowl. You know, he's done everything. You know, he's got all sorts of records. But he looked old in this game, whereas Brady looked young.
Brady,
Brady looked young. Brady looked like 25-year-old Brady all of a sudden. I don't know where this is coming from. He's found the fountain of youth, whereas Breeze looked his age, and you were like, this is the end of the road. The Saints have been riding Breeze for the last sort of 3 years. It's been like year after year. They've been like, right, this is the last year. Now this is the last year. Now this is the last year. And it should tell you something that the best play of the game was when Jameis Winston came on and made one throw for a touchdown off of a trick play. And that was the only time the Saints even looked vaguely dangerous. The rest of it, you were like, nah, the Buccaneers have got this. And the Buccaneers defense kicked their ass. They 20 points flatters them, like you say. They did not. It was not a close game.
And I just really was. I forgot about that big play because I think Drew Brees didn't break 100 yards until the 3rd quarter or something like that. Like,
goodness.
Really quite shut down on that one.
Oh, bad.
And I enjoyed this one.
In fairness, actually, I was complimenting Brady. Brady did look a bit scrappy in the first half. Neither quarterback, because I remember us talking. It was like 3 a.m, and we were both slightly drunk, and we were like, "It's ridiculous." You know, you've got 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks here. Neither of them have thrown for 100 yards or something in like late in the second quarter. Mm-hmm. So it was a game that picked up in the second half. But there was one vastly superior team, and that was the Buccaneers.
And Goodwin for the Buccaneers had some bad drops in the first half, man. Huge. My God. I love the player, but dude, like that first half could have been more of a destruction. Than it wasn't really a destruction. They were quite even in the first half. But Godwin had some bad drops in that game, which I think was
It's why I choose Mike Evans every time in fantasy, man. You give me Mike Evans all day, every day. Goodwin, nah.
And I think Antonio Brown went out with a knee or an ankle injury as well, so he didn't play a major part. I think he only had 1 pass for like 10 yards. So he wasn't a major part.
Yeah.
They looked solid, man. The Buccaneers looked solid, and they're going to be riding this wave of momentum into the Packers game.